I ended up in the therapist's office 2, sometimes 3 times a week. And the more I talked to prove that I was right, the more I started to see how wrong I was. Welcome back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories, where I go with them, analyze them, and most certainly make fun of them. Today, I'm going to go over a story titled, 6 months later, divorcing my husband was a huge mistake. And guys, this story is about a wife who definitely torpedoed her marriage. She was married to a great guy. He did everything he could to try to make her happy, and of course, he could not. You're going to see in this story how she got a promotion at work, and she immediately, when she started making more money, started looking down at her husband. At the same time, she felt that he was holding her back from what she could become in this world. One of those. Meanwhile, he lost his job and he was at home taking care of the 4 kids and all that. And then she started resenting him for being home with the kids, even though she just momentarily was hating on him because he was holding back from her career. And it's a never-ending roller coaster. You can't make her happy no matter what. And ultimately, you're going to see she cheats, does all these awful things. And then guess what happens? She's still miserable because she can't do without him. That'll be a very good one to go over here, guys, just to show you where she definitely, this a-hole, the selfish a-hole gets what she deserves, in my opinion. And also for you guys that want to do marriage, be aware of this, or relationships. So many gals you can't make happy. No matter what they say, no matter what you do, you can't make them happy, and remember that. But one of the worst things you can do is to do often what they say they want you to do, because what they say and what they react to emotionally are 2 separate things. And a guy that acts weak, acts like a doormat, a pushover, which your husband really was, I'll be honest here, gets the wrath of Khan, or the wrath of a-hole wife. But don't worry, justice will be served. So it starts off, says here, this one is long, but worth for everyone to read. If I could give anyone a piece of advice for divorce, it would be not to do it under normal circumstances. If your spouse is hurting you or threatening you and your kids, then of course get out fast. In my case, there was no abuse. We were together for 8 years, that was mostly good, and we had 4 kids. The only abuse going on was you towards your husband. That was the abuse. No, she's not mentioning that. Right around 5 years ago, I got a promotion at work, and I got it in my head that my ex-husband was dragging me down, or at least holding me back for more success and a better life. So you know that argument that the feminists make, that a wife could have a better career, make more money than the husband, everything will be okay. You've heard that before. You've heard me talk about it. Well, here's yet another example where the second she starts making more money, immediately she sees her husband, her guy, as inferior to her. This is why I've said lots of times, and I get hate on this, and I will again, guarantee it, somebody's going to bitch at me about this. It's far better for the guy to make more money, higher position, all that, because women want a guy they can look up to, feel like they got a prize that their girlfriend's going to be jealous of. But when she's making more, automatically she's like, this loser's holding me back. I want a guy that I can look up to, feel like I got a prize. And remember this when she starts bitching about other things. We never had a lot of money, but with my promotion, I was now making more than he was. I started working longer hours, and at the same time, his hours were cut, so he was at home more. I really began to resent him because he was home and because he got to spend time with the kids. Well, hold on. Didn't you just say up here, he's dragging me down and holding me back for more success and a better life? Somebody's got to be home with the kids, right? Okay? If it's not him, it's you, and then you'll be held back from your career. So what do you expect? Now, since he's with the kids, you can now focus on your career. Now you're complaining that you don't get to spend as much time with him. What do you want? Most nights when I got home, they were already getting ready for bed, if not already sleeping. After a few months of my new job, it was clear to me that things were not going well at home without me there. Some nights the dishes weren't done, and when I got home the kids hadn't eaten, or whatever else I could think to be mad at him about. Well, I'm going to stop right there. Yes, if he is not indeed working at this point, and she's gone all the time, he should have the fucking dishes done. He should make sure they're fed. So I can get her on that if in fact that is an accurate thing. But it does sound like he gets his shit together. It really didn't matter. He kept saying that he would try harder, but that it was hard for him being home all the time. That always made me really mad. Yeah, because he feels like a loser. He was having a hard time, obviously, trying to find a position that can make her happy to make enough money, because that's what it's actually about, guys. And a man needs to have his purpose. A man, being the caretaker, if you will, it doesn't go down to the wiring of men. It is what it is. And he's feeling depressed and like a loser, and she's making it worse. For the next couple of years, things kept getting worse. My hours weren't any shorter, and his were on and off full time. There was no convenient time for him to be working full time because of my hours, but we also needed the money. Okay, because of your hours, your promotion, which you said you wanted to help your career, you're working more, so he couldn't do as much. Somebody had to be home with the kids. And yet, he's the bad guy here. Whenever he would tell me he could get extra hours, I would always complain, and the less hours he worked, the more I complained that he wasn't bringing in enough money. Well, if he worked full-time and you worked full-time, you'd have to pay a babysitter to watch your kids all the time because they're very young kids. And then the more money would be going out the door, so you can't win, honey. Whenever he brought up the contradiction, I would tell him that he needed to figure it out. Oh, in other words, he called her on her bullshit, and then she'd made him out the bad guy. You got to figure it out to make me happy. I knew that would bother him, so I started saying it a lot more for everything I could. There you go, deliberately hurting the guy she supposedly loves, and to death do you part. I really started to resent him, and I pulled away from him. I knew that it was hurting him, but I didn't care. This is why I said, guys, she's an a-hole and deserves what she gets. She says, if he didn't want to be hurt, then he would just at least try to make me happy. Well, let's see what happens when he tries to make her happy. If, in fact, he can make her happy, and what does it cause in terms of her respect and attraction for him. I use that same thing to justify when I start to talk to another guy at work. Now she's cheating on him. I thought he was just a friend, but talking at work turned into texting at home, and then pictures and videos, and then trying to sneak some alone time with him. She's a piece of garbage. This guy should divorce her, and as time goes on, you really should see he should divorce her. Because, hey, if she's bringing all the money, who's going to benefit from this, right? I knew that it was wrong, but it made me feel so alive. And my husband had not made me feel that way in years. There's no making you happy, lady. I was tired of being unhappy, and I was doing this for me. Justification for this? The worst was the night that I came home at a reasonable time and found out that he had cleaned the whole house, cooked the whole family dinner, and picked out a movie for us to watch together. This would have made me swoon a couple of years earlier, but that night I couldn't even look at him, and I pretended to be sick. What a bitch. I spent the rest of the night in bed while he waited on me and checked on me and even made me different food and brought it to me in bed. It made me feel terrible, then it made me angry that he made me feel that way, and by the end of the night, I was texting with the other guy. See, remember how she said earlier that she wanted him to try to make her happy? So what's he doing? Cleaning the house, taking care of the kids, movie night, preparing food, everything? It ain't making her happy. Now she's mad at him. There's no, what's going on here? She's a selfish a-hole. And she knows she's treating him like crap, and he's trying, and she's losing all respect for him because he's trying to do nice things for her, even though she's treating him like crap. What I tell you about women and respect, and they don't respect you, they won't love you. If you act weak, like the husband is, in terms of treating her well when she's treating him like crap, she's losing respect for him. Over the next month or two from that night on, it did not matter what he did. He was just wrong for breathing most days. How many ex-husbands out there are watching this right now that were treated like that by their ex-wives? He would get so upset with how I was treating him and would just wait and egg him on into losing it because I knew it would eventually happen. Oh, so she knew how to push his buttons to get him all worked up on purpose, punishing this guy. After most of the fights he would apologize for whatever I told him he did wrong, if there was even something, but I never did. Smack to him. See? He's apologizing for something that she said he did wrong, that he wasn't doing wrong. Weakness. And smack to him for doing that. Losing more respect for him. I'd usually find a way to make him feel worse. I knew that I was right because he was wrong, and that was all that mattered to me. I didn't pretend that I didn't care when he found out about my relationship with the guy from work. There you go. What an a-hole. I haven't done one like this in a long time about a-holes like this. It really destroyed me inside to see him holding back tears, but I wasn't going to let him see me do that. Yeah, I can tell it really hurt you so bad, you hurting your husband here. And I want to point out, lady, you're not just hurting him. This is also the father of your children. You're hurting him, and you're hurting your kids too by you cheating and all that. But she doesn't give a shit. He was at his weakest, and that was when I chose to tell him that I wanted a divorce. Well, thank you. Thank you, wife, because you're making all the money. Now he can make out from this. I could almost hear his heart shattering inside his chest. He talked and fought with me and said that we could work together, etc. I really wasn't interested in fixing our marriage, but I mostly ended things with the other guy, but only because I knew I could get it back if I wanted to. See her attitude here? I could see that he was trying, and occasionally I would let him know, but for the most part, I kept being a huge bitch to him for any and all reasons that I could think of. In other words, punishing him because she's just angry as fuck and couldn't stand his weakness. I'm not sure how much more of the man could have been done to make me happy, besides finding a job that paid enough for me to not have to work at all. There you go. And this is the same lady in the freaking first paragraph who said it resented him for holding her back in her career. Now all of a sudden she wants to be at home with the kids all the time and him go to work. She can't make up her mind. He said they was looking and finding two different things. It was around this time that I discovered this group and a few others. I started posting things about him and from my perspective only. And I got so much positive feedback for how I was feeling that I knew I was right. So she was posting her biased stories online, probably something like Reddit, and writing in a way that made him out to be the bad guy. And of course, she had all these other bitter people telling her, you should divorce him, he's a jerk, blah, 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 you have a right to cheat on him. And we'll watch this. The more I posted, the more validation that I got. It wasn't just me who knew that the ex-husband wasn't worth keeping around. I had the whole internet telling me how terrible he is. Does he sound very terrible to you guys? He's weak and he's trying too hard for someone who doesn't care about him, but he's not terrible. I started saying awful things to him and even outright ignoring him. I was so confident with mine and everyone else's opinion that I contacted an attorney and within a couple weeks had filed for divorce. I continued to use this website and a couple others to validate my feelings and for encouragement to go through with it, and finally it was done. How many people on this website are single and miserable and misery loves company? Think about that. It went pretty smoothly. The ex-husband didn't ask for much besides to not get divorced and try to work it all out. Smack to the husband. What the hell's the matter with you, dude? I think this guy's just so worn down. So worn down without anybody to offer him good advice and help him that he just doesn't know anything else. That's why I do what I do. I didn't care about that at all. He was broken, but I was free. I could do whatever I wanted without having to feel any guilt about it to answer to anybody. It was an amazing feeling of freedom. It didn't last, though. In the first month after he moved out, I missed garbage day 3 times. There was also rarely a single dish cleaned, and laundry sat in piles so long I had to start doing the sniff test to see what could be worn again. What happened about the strong, kick-butt, all-empowered woman that can do everything? Full-time job, full-time mom, full-time this, full-time that. Sounds like you need help, honey. I also never saw my kids more miserable. My oldest had seen some of the messages from the other guy months earlier and knew that the ex-husband still wanted to try and work it out. It didn't take her long to stop talking to me at all, except to say that she wanted to go to the ex-husband's house. So your oldest knows you're a cheater, and the kids are miserable being with you. The others all told me they wanted to live with the ex-husband too. I did my best to try to make them happy, but I ended up just buying them all toys all the time, and the happiness only lasted minutes. You mean the woman who told her husband he needs to do what he has to do to make her happy, but he can never make her happy, and she was always miserable to him, now is doing everything she can to make the kids happy, and no matter what she does, she can't make the kids happy. This is called karma. I also was having a lot of trouble with work. Being alone, I couldn't work all those extra hours that I was expected to do. But I thought you were the kick-butt, strong, empowered woman. I finally gave in and started calling the ex-husband to watch the kids. He'd always come over as soon as he could, and he always asked me if I needed anything. When I get home, I would find clean dishes and laundry and even dinner sometimes. Smack to the ex. Why the hell is he going over there and doing her dishes and cleaning up after her? Now, he's obviously doing it for the kids, but still. That is just backing up why, in my opinion, he's so weak. When I would get home, I'd find clean dishes, blah, blah, blah. He would never say too much after I got home. He would just say to call him if I needed anything and leave. One night he took out the garbage and brought it to the curb because it was garbage night and I'd forgotten again. He always looked so sad when it was time to go. Dude, this guy needs my help. For God's sakes. Finally, after a couple of months, my friends convinced me to go out on a date. It was for dinner and a movie, and I was excited and hopeful, but at dinner I started getting a feeling of overwhelming guilt. It got so bad that I ended up not even going to make the movie. A week and about 1,000,000 tears later, I was on a therapist's couch. 1,000,000 tears later. Nobody feels bad for you, lady. I told her everything that had happened during the promotion that I got at work. She did not agree with me on any of the or with any of the encouragement to divorce that I got. I ended up in her office 2 and sometimes 3 times a week. And the more that I talked to prove that I was right, the more I started to see how wrong I was. Yeah, you're not going to fool a professional, lady. It was truly heartbreaking. I don't know if I cried so much my entire life as if I did in the first few months in her office. Boo freaking who. Nobody feels my channel is not the site you're going to get people to feel bad for you, lady. You may have been able to fool people on the other website you went to. Not here. After about $2,000 of therapy sessions, I learned that my ex-husband had his faults, but I figured out that mine was much worse. Well, you could have gotten it for free on my channel. I could tell you that. Everybody in this comment section can tell you what's wrong with you. I did so many awful things and said awful things that I wouldn't want to be with me either, but he still did. I still remember him asking me in the meeting with the lawyer to please not go through with it. I did go through with it though, and then later on I bragged on how great I felt. I was so wrong, and now I can see it. Well, tough shit. You deserve to be miserable. Your husband, I think he just probably was abandoned as a kid or has no self-esteem, no self-worth, all sorts of things that I try to help guys develop strong self-worth, strong self-esteem, so that if they ever encounter a gal that treats them like this, they can head for the hills instead of trying to kiss her ass to make it better. A couple weeks ago, I went outside with him, and when he was leaving the house, I asked him about getting back together. When he looked at me, his eyes were full of tears and a couple went down his cheeks. Smack! Stop fucking crying, dude. Don't let him see you cry. This guy needs some tough love. I feel bad for him, but on the other hand, he ain't helping his case. He needs tough love from SSM. He told me that he didn't know if he could. He said the pain has been too much for too long, and that if we got back together, that I might just turn around and do it to him again. Thank God he's finally having some balls here and saying what he needs to say. And he's right. She will do it again. This goes to show she's not capable of love. She is a fucking narcissist. She's terrible. He said that he always thought that I would realize how much he loved me and step up and until I signed the divorce papers and let out a big over-exaggerated sigh of relief. He said that I've hurt him more than anything else and he doesn't know if he can even trust me again. I do not blame him. I destroyed a man who, looking back, was a great husband. I deprived my kids of having a great father in the house and with them, and I took his kids away from him. And me, the one who pushed for the divorce, expecting happiness and a life of freedom, spent all my free time sitting at home or sitting at a therapist's couch. Yeah, ha ha ha, a-hole. Now, I don't know how this guy didn't make out better in the divorce. Probably because he was trying to appease her, hoping that she would change her mind. You don't try to appease an aggressor. Please don't just take the advice of anyone on this site or any other about getting a divorce. If your marriage is bad, look at yourself first and see if you can make changes. Yeah, sure. People like you are going to really listen. This is advice for men and women. Getting divorced is not fun. Being divorced is not fun. And seeing your husband broken and your children never happy because of your actions is the most painful experience that I can imagine. And it didn't stop you. You were doing that for years, hurting him and hurting them, but you're so full of yourself that you kept on doing it. I don't buy it. I wish you all well and hope you will give your marriages a second chance. Well, you're not getting a second chance. See what I'm talking about, guys? So what we learned here. Again, it's always best the husband makes more. In a higher position so she can always feel like she got her prize to look up to. And so many times, the second she's getting a higher paying job, all of a sudden, he's holding me back. Meanwhile, the next paragraph, she's bitching because he gets to be home with the kids all the time, even though she said he's holding her back. Do you want your career or do you want the family? Right? But it really boils down to this. She's a miserable a-hole. He's weak. She had no respect for him. So she decided to let all her frustrations and turmoil and probably bipolar shit to put it on him and blame him for all her problems. And he did not help himself. by putting up with her crap, being her whipping post. It's terrible. And I might add, cheating on him. But she wasn't just cheating on him, she's cheating on the kids. Divorced him, and now the kids are unhappy. She's a terrible mother. He should be getting major alimony checks and child support, and the kids should be living with him. That's how it should be. Now, I don't know how this continues. I'll see if I can do some digging to find out what happens next. But anyhow, guys, lots of lesson here. Lots to learn here. Don't be the weak husband. Don't be the weak guy. Stand up for yourself. And for God's sakes, you get in a relationship with a woman like this, you bail. Okay? Now, let's be honest, most of you guys at this point aren't relationship guys or do marriages anymore for obvious reasons, but there's things to learn in this story here. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And, guys, you come across a good story, definitely email to me, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. Just give me some time to get to it. I definitely will when I get the chance. And be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.